The nation is under siege. The nation is under siege.
Good evening, everybody. This is Divided We Stand from Bridgeton, New Jersey, via Arlington, Virginia. If you're new to this channel, this is the Divided We Stand channel. We ask that you subscribe to this channel if you'd like to commiserate with people of like minds. Also, if you're unfamiliar with our Facebook group page, we are Divided We Stand on Facebook. On this, well, it looks like it's going to be a stormy night, no pun intended. It is the 23rd of June, and it's been hotter than hell. And hell's turning out to be the 5th season in this country. So who knows what will happen? Hopefully we won't lose our connection. So stay tuned for some excitement. And without any further ado, as usual, I'd like to introduce my good friend, our co-host, our former journalist, podcaster, former educator, and let's not forget, an administrator of this channel. So if you have any issues, go right to him. It's our Dave Price. Dave, how are we doing?
I just want to tell the audience. Brian and I do what we do before we come on. We talk for about 3 to 4 minutes, if that. And all he was talking about was this possible storm coming. Now, I'm going to leave it up to you people, but I think it would be great if this happened. If there was a tornado that hit, and Brian could hold on to the computer as he was lifted up. We could put the music of the Wizard of Oz on, and it could, and we could see through Brian's computer what he would be seeing as he's flying through the air, just like Dorothy and Toto and company.
I just wonder what character you would be. Would you be the wonderful Wizard of Oz, or would you be one of those monkeys running around causing all kinds of havoc?
Yeah,
I think you do that just to upset me. You see, you could not even do the Oz.
No, I wouldn't want to. Well, Oz is Trump, so I wouldn't want to be that. That's an interesting question. I'm going to give that serious thought. I'm not joking. I think for many reasons, he's my favorite male character. I would want to be the Scarecrow.
Scarecrow.
The Cowardly Lion is comic and funny, right? The Tin Man is a little too serious for me. Right. It's such a fabulous movie, and people, it's one of those things. You realize it's all political. The original story,
right? I do know the original story was political.
And they made the change,
but most people don't see it that way. I mean, that's
no. Well, you can see, you can see it as. I mean, you have to. It's like so many of the great children's books. It has a story that can be accepted on that childlike level, but there's so much more to the story. The big thing, living in D.C., at the Smithsonian has a lot of the artifacts from the Wizard of Oz. And
really? Didn't know that.
Their most viewed exhibit over history has been Dorothy's red ruby slippers.
Really?
But yeah, now how they do that, I mean, I don't think, you don't clock in. And they just did. It really, of all the Smithsonians, that people think, well, they're just on the mall, right? That's not true. People don't realize there's 17 Smithsonian museums in Washington, D.C., only of which about, 8, 9, 10 maybe are on the mall. There's also underground in the Smithsonian. There are a couple galleries. They have 2 more coming. And that's a big debate. and we say, well, what difference does it make who the president is? Well, that'll weigh into that. Congress has already approved funding for a Latino museum. and a women's museum. So the problem becomes, I look good. I look good. Well, of course, I look good all the time, so it doesn't really matter. Pigtails, no pigtails, it wouldn't really matter. But I think that's no.
May I ask a personal question about the Wizard of Oz too?
Yes, you can, because
who do you find more attractive, Stormy Daniels or Dorothy?
Oh, no question, Stormy Daniels.
Right. They're just going to answer, no question.
No. And I like Stormy Daniels on two levels: the sexual, sensuous person who is proud of what they do, is not ashamed of it. But as I've pointed out before, she's not a dumb blonde. She's probably not even really a blonde.
No, she's probably not blonde.
But the thing is, I mean, and it's been pretty much established that she does do her own tweeting. And some of her replies are really pretty cool. And she has it down how to deal with trolls. Another writer that I really like, David Simon, who did The Wire and did Treme and was with Homicide: Life on the Streets and was a Baltimore Sun reporter for years. But he's a little crude sometimes, with his response. But Stormy just seems to hit that sweet spot where she puts down the people in such a way that you kind of smile. Perhaps
I think
clicking together.
There
right
is
now,
perhaps an analogy between Dorothy and Stormy in that of course, Dorothy obviously was a fictional character,
right?
And in a certain way, Stormy Daniels, because she is made up. I mean, most of what she have is false.
That's true.
It's this magic look. Now, one's in a very sensual way, and another is in a very asensual way, more of a down to earth type of thing. I'm not saying I'm not making any judgments. Okay?
Oh no. I think
I mean, right. Now Judy Garland, I mean, she wasn't an angel, but in terms of Dorothy, it was made up.
And it's interesting the stories around that. Again, the gift shop at the Smithsonian American History has tons of Wizard of Oz things because, like I said, it is their most popular. They have other things, but they keep Dorothy slippers all the time. But there is a thing, and they just came out with the story again. They lost a pair of slippers somehow.
Really?
And they've discovered them like on a Craigslist type of thing. Somebody is offering them, and they're gonna have to figure out what they're gonna do. Are they gonna buy them back? Yes, and Gary's right. She is a talented horsewoman and rider.
Who's this?
Stormy Daniels.
Oh, that wasn't any kind of pun there or joke.
No. She really is. And apparently, from what they say, she's a good mother. Of course, people look at her as we do all our stars. You're either kind of for her or against her, and of course in this case it's political because she was involved in politics. I mentioned before on the show that both times I saw her, one was at a gentleman's club and one was at Politics and Prose, the bookstore here in DC. There were more women in the audience than men. And what she became at that point, and it still is kind of a feminist icon. But interesting enough, there was no feminism. Women were second-class citizens when Frank Baum wrote, The Wizard of Oz. And yet a lot of women have taken Dorothy to be kind of a feminist icon symbol. She's out on her own, right?
Right.
She defeats all the, she has to help all the men,
right.
Get there. She defeats whatever. But just this week, it's funny how synchronicity or serendipity or whatever this thing is, I was, lost in the internet, if you will. And a meme came up, and I'd never noticed this, Brian. I got to go. If anybody has The Wizard of Oz queued up right now, you can look for me. When they go out and leave to go confront the witch, they're actually carrying. The three of them are carrying weapons. I never looked at that. Never saw it. And so that means something. I mean, everything means something. The other thing, of course, that most everybody knows is the Munchkins were really hard to deal with. They were having orgies and they were drunk and they were trying to put their hands up Dorothy's dress. I mean, they were, because imagine,
really?
It was the largest crowd. I mean, call them little people back then. It was the largest crowd of little people probably ever assembled, right? At that point. And suddenly, I mean, can you imagine if you are that small, uh, and you're living in the world, and now suddenly there's what 40, what I don't know how many there were, 40 some people like you. It was kind of like, well, let's see. It was kind of like Trump found his people in Philly last night. Um, and again, it continues. I don't know. I'm kind of, my wife bans me from listening to him, so I have to put on the headphones when I listen. Because I'm just fascinated. And I would urge everybody to look at the clips where he talks about it was evangelicals. It was at Temple University, which I thought was interesting. I don't know why Temple, but again, we're so much into these crowds, like as if a big crowd means what? It doesn't. The only crowd that counts
Just optics. It's just optics for him.
Yeah, the only crowd that counts is the crowd on election day that votes for you.
Right.
But they panned the up. It was not. It was not packed. I mean, it was. It was. The bottom floor was, and the floor was, and the seats were. But up top, no. But anyway, of course, he panders, and his remarks on the Ten Commandments, and we'll talk a little bit later, probably in the show, about the Ten Commandments. It was just. I mean, it was like, oh my God. It was like I never heard anybody talk. Like it was like he just discovered them. You know what I mean? It was like,
Right.
wow, these are pretty good. Look at this. What? And all we know about him in his Bible is when he displayed it on St. John's Church across from Lafayette Park. He had it upside down. So I really don't think he's a man of the Bible. But of course, this week, big news will happen June 27th. And what is that big news, Brian?
We have a debate Thursday night.
Okay. And I'm going to put you on the spot, and you can put me back on the spot. I think it's safe to say we don't know what's going to happen. Okay. I think
We can
more than
speculate fairly well.
no, but I mean, we don't know. I mean, you've got.
It's going to be personal. I think it's going to, obviously,
Well,
Trump's going to be personal.
Well, what we will find out, I think, is how Biden will campaign against Trump. And of course, there's a number of ways to do that. You can use the Michelle Obama: when they go low, we go high. You could, but I don't think Biden's going to do that for this reason. A lot of people, unfortunately, equate civility and niceness and not attacking with weakness. And the one thing Biden can't have happen, he is 81. Line of the debates, when he turned to Trump, would you shut up, man? I even have a T-shirt that says that.
Right.
But a couple of things we do know about it. First of all, as so much of this election will be, it is historic in that this will be the earliest presidential debate in American history. It is also the first time.
It is early. It is early.
Yeah, it's the first time that candidates have debated when they're not even nominated by their party. I mean, we know that they're going to be front runners. Yeah, I mean, but the actual fact is that we don't know. It also will not have an audience. That was one of the stipulations. I'm kind of surprised Trump agreed to that.
Right.
Because,
David Feldman does have, he's speculating why that is to be. He felt, and I think there's something to this, is that Jill Biden's going to be there, but we know that Melania, for some reason, has not been around him at all. And if she doesn't show up, it really has a bad look. So that way,
that's a good point. I hadn't considered that, Brian. That's a really good point. And of course, that begs the question: what is Melania doing? What is going on? And again, it's all speculation.
Well, she's got some leverage over him now because whatever prenuptial agreement they have, she can play around with that now and say, you expect me to do certain things.
Contested it, right? Right. Well, and the other thing, again, going back to what we have to pick and choose what we believe, but I do believe two things about the last election. Trump did not expect to win. I'm going to see what Gary said here. I think Biden chose the speaking side over last speaker so that the audience is left with the image of an impromptu, blathering idiot. And there's some other things that go on with that, and we'll address that in a minute, Gary. But I think that's a very important point. Now, just to close out with Melania, she will play a role, whether she wants to or not, because I think she was most disappointed that he won, and Trump didn't expect to win, and suddenly she was first lady. Now, and she certainly, in general, was no uh, Jacqueline Kennedy. In fact, she actually there were a lot of people bitter that she tore out the Rose Garden because she didn't
Right.
like it, and that was a symbol, in the Rose Garden, which again just shows that Trump and the Trump family don't give a shit about anything other than what they want to
Hmm.
do at the.
Right.
But so whether she's there or not, it will be noticed, and you're right. It will be there now. Gary said, which is true. They had a coin flip, just like a sporting event, and Biden won. Well, Biden's team won. I mean, he wasn't there for the coin flip, and so he got to decide which side he wanted to speak from, and he chose the left, which would be the audience right side, right? And
I don't
there's a
know. I
whole
mean, it's that
yeah,
because that's kind of strange. I would have thought that he would chose the audience looking left. They say he's the first one there because it hits your eyes to the
yeah,
left, to the right. If you're
yeah,
right, yeah.
and well, that's what it says on that side. And so what happens is there's a whole, and I happen to read a little bit of it. There's a whole science behind where you stand. I mean, forget what you say, and it starts there.
Well, isn't it true that
And
even in teaching, like the left side of the room, the
well, you know
teacher
what?
tends.
It's funny you bring that up. I laugh about to this day. I would have been a great basketball player, except for the flaws that I had. And one of the major was I couldn't go to my left side. My left hand was
Right.
terrible. But I was always doing. I'm just right-handed. I never could go to my left side. But it was the same damn thing with teaching. I'd stand in the front of the room. I could do center, and if I drifted over the right, and I have to force myself to say,
Right.
"You've got kids on the left side of the room. Get your ass over there from time to time."
Right.
And I would look, I would look at it, but my physical presence just didn't go that way. So, but even there, and as teachers, there's a whole science behind, what not so. I mean, things that you don't even necessarily think about, how you use your voice, where you stand, your posture reflecting what you want,
Hmm.
um, and the same thing with this speech. So, Biden, and then as Gary pointed out, it didn't matter, but so Trump could get to pick whether he wanted to go last, and he said he did, and that'll be normally that's a pretty good position, right?
Right.
Because most people, the idea of it is whether you're writing or speaking, leave them with something, and that's your big line.
And plus, if you hear something in their final statement, you can throw in something ad libbed, and you do have an
Absolutely, and
advantage.
very much like
Just like a
prosecution.
commercial, the first 10 seconds and the last ten
Right,
seconds.
right, and so. Uh, but I think Gary's onto something there. I mean, I don't know if that's why they chose the position, but it certainly works out to his advantage because a couple things can happen. You just point out he could respond. If he goes off script, he's not good at that, Trump. And he may be talking about his electrocution and his shark. And I posted something right before we came on. It was garbled, something he said. It was either.
Dave, I think I don't know. Maybe people are hearing it differently. Sometimes you're going a little bit in and out. It seems like something's clicking with your mic or something like that. Is there something going on?
I don't think so. Is it?
You're good now. You're good now. It was just it went out for
Well,
just a
you're
brief
you're
second.
you sound like this, but that's
Well,
okay.
that's how I speak.
I know that. That's why I don't get upset
Okay.
about it.
I speak gibberish.
Now, back to the debate. So we know the following things. We know there'll be no audience. We know the moderators will ask the questions. We know that, and I'm surprised Trump agreed to this too. The mics will be turned off when the other person speaks, so he won't be able to step on
Well, he may get
anything Biden said.
loud. He might get loud. He
But he
could do
can't. But he
that.
is only on his time.
Right. Right.
Yeah, I mean, he
Now,
can't.
but we can speculate. We know. Look, let's just look at it this way. If you were Trump or Trump's team,
Mhm.
you'd say, okay, look, our supporters are very simple. They react to basic memes and things like that. Keep it really simple.
Right.
Attack the man personally. Say the things that they like you to hear, no matter what Biden says. Accusing him of whatever. There's nobody there to really correct him, so he'll just say what he wants. So he'll just say, I think in that sense, that's all that's going to happen from his side.
Oh, I would agree. And I think, we know that Biden has the stutter, which he's had, his whole life. But I think that sometimes works to your advantage. There was a book out not too long ago that was really interesting. You know what they said? The number one best condition to have if you're going to be a CEO? Like a negative condition to have.
Negative condition to have as a CEO.
Yep. I mean, what would be negative? I mean, it'd be negative to a human. And I was really surprised about this, but it is true. I mean, it's been documented this way. Oh, you want to guess, or you just want to go? No.
I'd like to guess, but I don't want to say stammering because it would be the one thing I would think of. But
it's close. It's very, very close. It's very close, but it's not that one. It's not
having a very basic vocabulary, maybe.
Nope. Another good one. Dyslexia. Because what they said it forces you to do, you can't use books, so you've always studied people.
All right.
And that supposedly is an advantage. Most places it wouldn't be an advantage, right? But in that case, it would be. Now, Trump may or may not have dyslexia. I would really be fascinated to know how many books he's read in his life. I really would. It could be none. It really could be none. I've never met anybody who hadn't read a book, but it could be. I mean, he certainly doesn't value.
Right. I would imagine that he hasn't read too. I mean, he doesn't have the vocabulary of somebody who reads a lot of books. Most people who read a lot have a good vocabulary.
Well, that's another thing. So my point with Biden having that stutter, I think that he's always kind of been a good debater, simply because he has to overly prepare in terms of being set not to have that stutter happen as much as possible. So what you're going to have is somebody who I think will be very well prepared against somebody who will ad lib. So we'll see two very distinct styles. And I think they're both going for, no, they're not going for the exact same thing. They're really fighting for anybody who hasn't made up their mind. That's what a debate is about, right? I mean, that's what a debate is about. But I don't know that Trump really cares about that. I think he just wants to bring down Biden, thinking that if I can make him, look feeble and old and this kind of thing. So he will have to resort to personal attacks. I mean, he would anyway. He does. It's like the bully on the playground, but it's even more so like the insults that were thrown. And Trump has the.
Well, how about your speculation on what Biden's team will, run through with him and suggest how to respond to these personal attacks?
Well, that's what we don't know. That's what we started with this discussion with. There's two ways to go. And there's multiple arms off of that. But, basically it's go high because Trump is going to go low.
Right.
Or it's point out how low he's going and come back, which is a variation. I mean, I don't think Biden, they said Biden could get in the mud with Trump. He's not capable. Nobody's capable. Nobody in the world that I've ever run across is capable of being.
I think there are people. If you had like a mentality of Christopher Hitchens, you could do it. He would know exactly what to say.
Yeah, but you know what, Christopher Hitchens' vocabulary is too big to handle Trump.
Right, but he was. I know he's kind of strange, but he had the ability to move up and down on that ladder.
I agree. I mean, I agree to a certain extent. But what I'm saying is, how do you handle a person who's completely unhinged from reality,
right?
From himself. So it would be there's no.
I mean, do you just let him embarrass himself? But these people don't understand it. On his,
Well, it seems to be, and you've pointed this out very well in most of the shows that we've done. We just have to hope the Democrats aren't too late to the fight. They now are coming out a lot against the scariest document that I've ever read part of is the 2025 plan.
Well, if Biden pulls a Merrick Garland and just completely gets passive, then they're not going anywhere.
And like I said, I don't think he can. I mean, I don't think he will, because the idea of it is he has to show he's vigorous and strong.
Right.
Now, while all the focus is on this debate, of course, it's not the only thing happening. This week in Washington, D.C., there was a report, and from the police are warning in DC, it's going to be a long, hot summer with protests. You've got Netanyahu coming here.
24th of July.
You've got it's one of the is it NATO? One of the big they're having a big conference here. Again, you have the events continuing in Gaza and Palestine, and I witnessed something this week that I'd never seen before. I was up at where I go a lot to the protest shed. I call it the shed. It's not really a shed. It's a lean-to kind of thing with canvas. But at Lafayette Square, which again, for those who don't know, there is a protest there basically calling for human rights everywhere. It actually started kind of as an anti-war and kind of evolved to this. It's been there 42 years. And the legal ramification is that it's grandfathered. It stays up as long as somebody is there. So you have to have somebody there 24/7. So people sleep there. They take shifts and all that. And I was up there. And it was a new guy that I didn't really know real well. We were just talking. And it could have been anybody, but I have to say, not because these people would do it. But two Indian gentlemen came up. And one of the India's involved in kind of a situation with Kashmir, and the Indian guy saw this. He says, you stupid. I mean, he got really loud and belligerent. But my peace guy kind of shot it back. I thought I was going to have to get in there like with two kids and break them up. My point of all that is saying we are in a time, and this heat isn't going to help, where you almost expect any confrontation could turn to violence. I mean, you
Or
really
death,
do. I mean,
in the sense that it's just too hot out there. You saw what happened
that's what
in
I'm
Saudi
saying.
Arabia.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, you got the whole thing going on, and you
Heat
certainly got some things.
Can we just mention this for a second, Dave? Because a lot
Sure.
of people
Oh,
are
yeah,
concerned with the climate.
sure.
But
Oh, yeah.
and I was at the point where I'm feeling like saying, I hope that these governors who are going to apply for FEMA aid don't get it. The ones who don't believe in climate change.
You know what? They will. They'll still get it. They'll still.
They're still going to get it. But see, this is it's all seemingly coming to a head right now with these temperatures. And oddly enough, the only places seemingly around the world where it's kind of getting a little bit cooler is in Russia. But for the most part, it's just been oppressive heat. And it's going to be the big problem eventually, because all these places where there is strife and there is war, you're not going to be able to live there anyway. I mean, who the hell? It's as if you're having a thermal cataclysm occurring, and if we do have a blue ocean event this year, which is probably 90% likely by the end of August, beginning of September, because obviously the middle of September it's going to really tail off. It's going to be probably the biggest news, at least I've ever heard of, at least in terms of climate, in my lifetime.
Oh, there's no
actual
question.
Ice-free Arctic. So, while this is all going on, this political issue, these issues, here we have a major event that's coming to a head.
And again, I'm going to say the President of the United States, in one sense, is the most powerful person in the world, in one sense. But he's more powerful, I think, in image around the world than he is in his own country. Or someday, I hope, in her own country. I hope we get a woman in there.
Right.
But the idea is that people, I think, overrate the power of the presidency and blame currently him, doesn't matter who's in there, for things that they really don't have a whole lot of control over. I mean, so what happens is, I mean, people who are backing the Palestinian cause feel that they're just and it's genocide on the part of Israel. People who back the Israeli cause are saying, but Hamas is a terrorist organization.
And what they did was genocide.
And what we did is genocide. So you obviously, I mean, and I would imagine, Brian, I would think at this point in Gaza, there can't be anybody who hasn't lost a family member with so many deaths. I mean, there has to. I mean, it had to affect every family, I would think, somewhere along the line. If not a family member, a friend, someone you knew.
Well, Gaza's not even going to be the big problem, because it's going to move to the north with Hezbollah.
Right.
Well, there's going to be a major war, and then that's going to make the other thing look like, a food fight.
And that's that. Now, my question will always be to someone, and they can give any answer they want. First of all, it's my belief that there are only two possible candidates for president, whoever the Democrats run and whoever the Republicans run. Now, we can bemoan that fact. We can wish. There are people who say that the country would be much better off if we had 7 or 8 or 9 parties. We don't. We have 2 viable parties.
I mean, they've tried to have other parties, and it
It, it,
always dissolves into a choice of
it's
one or
sim-
the other.
it comes down to money and people. Robert Kennedy's upset. He didn't get on this debate. Well, neither did Jill Stein. I mean, there's certain rules that are set up. So everything favors this 2-party. So my question to anyone would be, if they're interested in the environment, who would you rather have in the White House, Joe Biden or Donald Trump? No
Right.
question. No question to me. You know, but for other people, and especially the young people, I can understand. Think about their world, Brian, for a minute. I grew up as a teenager, didn't have climate change, right? It was going that way, but we didn't know it. We didn't have the science. I could never imagine going to school and being under.
He's right, because I hear him now. Keep going, Dave. Get this.
I want to see you fly out that damn window. I'm staying on.
Okay.
I'm not leaving, people.
If that happens, folks, I want you to stigmatize this man for the rest of his life.
Brian, look, with power, this is your show, you do have some power, comes great responsibility. And you have a responsibility to our listeners and watchers to just stay there and film the storm. Now,
Oh, I'll leave the computer on for you. We'll let you
Okay.
stay on.
Okay. Well, that's good. That would be better. Let's get back here to Mr. Trump and Mr. Biden. So, who do you
By the way,
expect?
isn't that because you did ask that question? Who would you choose given your position on the environment? And you seemingly that's an easy question to answer because we know the answer to it. Despite that, you remember our interview with Antonio.
Oh, I know. Well, I'm just saying.
He felt that it was better to let it all get torn down, and that type of mentality is, the mentality of we're going to vote for Trump, and that is a problem. So I don't think it's a given that someone can answer that question as
no.
Biden.
I think the answer. When I say the answer should be, it should be Biden. I mean, just he's better on the environment because nobody could be worse than Trump. Well, maybe somebody from Louisiana, but the idea, and that calls to. But here's the problem. Trump's supporters, for the most part, either don't believe that there is a climate problem, or they don't care.
Right. I mean, I think they publicly say that they don't believe in it, but they really don't care, and that's it. Because as long as they live their lives, that's all that really matters.
And that's
or if they're evangelicals, they believe that this is only going to exist.
Well, next, I have to do some more research. There was a couple of really interesting articles this week, but I want to look into it more about the fact of the evangelical support that they really, they want. They're setting things up in such a way that they actually want, Armageddon, because they feel that Armageddon, they will go upward now and not downward. Well, I think that's interesting. What was it? 4 preachers last week, evangelical preachers, were cited with sexual misconduct over a period of time.
And as Christopher Hitchens said, you're always going to find that. I mean, you can always say when they're disgraced. That's what you're going to find.
And we should be, in fairness, not every evangelical is a sexual pervert. Every priest is not a despoiler of boys, but there are enough to make it that. I think what bothers me is if you do that and you've come out before and been, I can be your moral leader. Like Lauren Boebert, the moment she touched that boyfriend's dick in Beetlejuice, she gave up all her right, and she'd done it long before. But I mean, that's just stop it, Or
but even so, I mean, you do know that if she were running for president against Biden, the Republicans would still vote for her no matter what she did.
Yes, that's my point. I think sometimes, at least I do. I shouldn't say for the rest of us. I just forget that they, I'm going like, how can? Well, it's not. They don't have any questions about how can they. Their questions are. Okay, we're gonna come back to that anti-guy in a minute.
All right, we'll come back to it.
I just want to, I want to, because that's a really good question. What What I think we'll have in that debate is I think you're going to get a clear view of how each man handles pressure. That's a pressure debate. I mean, you know, I don't think, and again, I may be wrong. I don't think Hillary Clinton was worried really at all about losing. I really don't. Just like Trump didn't think he
Right,
would
I would
win.
agree with you.
So,
I would agree.
so what happens is that's a whole different thing. Now it's neck and neck. You know, plus, as you've pointed out on numerous occasions, Brian, there's also the cavalry is waiting to assist Trump, not to assist Biden. Now, the Democrats won't go out without a fight. I mean, they'll have legal things, but they won't like just give up. But I think that's it. Now let's get Any Guy's thing back up there again.
Any guy? Okay. There
And
you
then
go.
we'll come back to Veg. Okay. Are you guys worried about Trump holding more footing with black males than Biden? First of all, that's not true. What is true is he is gaining. He's gaining numbers. But
all he would worry in swing states about the black votes. That's all he's worried about.
And that's part of it. Okay. And
which is probably why he came to Philadelphia. He wanted to get a few. He wanted to go to Temple. It's an area with a lot of African Americans. Maybe
however,
he can pull.
What I would come back to, I think the guy's got a good point and something to, not to dismiss. But we always see we're back to the Wizard of Oz. Remember when Toto pulled back the curtain? Well,
right.
Constantly, the curtain's being pulled back on Trump. He goes to that black church in Detroit. There's nobody. There was one black person there who was a member of that church. There's a woman who's it was great. She's been pictured at 4 different Trump events around the country. So nobody would follow Trump like that. She's getting paid. So I don't think its black support is solid. I also don't think the black community has started working it yet. You've got Al Sharpton out. You got people who are going to come out. Obama. I don't see how he can sit on the sidelines. I know he'd like to, and understandably, you're tired. I'm sure you're tired after 8 years. But I do think he needs. If his friendship with Joe Biden is as true as they claim it was, he needs to help him all he can. So I think if indeed it's 15%, 16%, or the first reported 20%, yeah, then it's a real problem. But I don't see that holding. All the
This
way
is an
through.
interesting figure. Now I haven't seen anything like this. By the way, T-Bone, it's good to see you. That usually it's like a 90 to 10% between.
That's the norm, and that's why I question, and again, ladies and gentlemen, I just question polls everywhere. And before we go off, I'm going to talk about one, but it's still with it just doesn't make sense. We all wish that. I was reading a book by my favorite educator in the entire world, Jonathan Kozal, and he and John Lewis were good friends, and he mentions him a lot in the book. And I think, yeah, John Lewis was special. I used to say Martin Luther King, was the greatest person I knew of in my lifetime. John Lewis, hands down, John Lewis.
Well, I think he was more personally accountable, and he was there longer. I mean, not obviously.
No, yeah.
Martin Luther King couldn't do anything about being killed, but
no, So I think, but I do think if those figures are, I can't see them staying. Yeah, I don't. I just don't. I think they're doctored polls in certain ways, maybe, and they do a poll aggregate, Brian. So you might have some accurate polls with some inaccurate polls, but who knows? I can't see that. I'm not.
Well, I could see a Republican pollster, a Fox thing trying to help Trump out. Nothing surprises me these days.
No.
The illegality.
And again, anybody who's ever been involved with polls, no, it's two things. It's what question you ask, how you ask the question, but there's a third thing too: what questions you don't ask. So, let's see. Now, T-Bone, Biden way ahead with blacks, but has lost some support. Worry more about the youth vote. And in this sense, I'm going to go with Gary on that. I think, again, you've got, let's try this for size. This is why I agree with, why I think Gary's got the right position. There are numerous black adults in government, in the church, in all kinds of positions who can work to rally the community. Youth don't have that. They don't have a congressperson. They don't have a senator. They're left kind of their own devices, right? And so they're going to, TikTok and different things will sway them. And Brian, kind of in the defense of the young, I thought people when I was 17 or 16, 15, I thought people 30. What was the thing? Don't trust anyone over 30.
Right,
That's
right, exactly.
That's what I grew up with. And so I can understand young people. I think what the Democrats need to figure out is and try actively to get who can influence them. Of course, Taylor Swift would have an influence. So far, she's sitting out. I'm sure there's great pressure for her to come in, and she's beyond. She can do whatever she wants.
Well, she has to come in the last 3 days, and you're good.
I'm just saying. So, and that might even be part of the plan.
Right. Just wait until the end. Wait till Scott Baio,
now
says something nice about Trump,
and
then do the opposite.
What will happen is that, of course, that actually would solidify Trump's base because see those damn whatever Hollywood elites. I laughed. Speaking of support, this week I don't know if you saw it. There's going to be a series of concerts called "You Can't Cancel America" by two headliners. Would you like to know who those headliners are?
Sure, give us.
One is Ted Nugent, and the other is Kid Rock. Now, they don't have anywhere the influence of Bruce Springsteen, of Taylor Swift. Mick Jagger, at some of the Stones concerts, has been saying things like this, with a smile at the end. He says, remember, vote in November. It might be the last vote you ever have. So clearly he's taking a stand, a little nuanced, a little hard, but if you want to use firepower of celebrities, look at what they raised the other day with George Clooney and Julia Roberts. Jack Black comes out. So that, I don't know what kind of impact it is, but what they have to do, they have to find, I guess what I'm trying to say is they have to find influencers of the young and get them on board.
Right, I would agree. That's
and so or Gary's fear comes.
Can
through.
you simply scare the youth and say, "Look, they're robbing you of your future. Look at climate change, whatever." Or do you have to do something deeper or something different? I don't know.
You've got some people out there working hard. David Hogue, who came to the forefront, was one of the survivors at the Broward County shooting school, became kind of a national celebrity. He's working hard. Well, you know what? I just thought of that, Veg. He is horrible.
Right, but not only that, but it's. I wouldn't even judge him on his guitar work, which I don't find very groundbreaking in any kind of way. He can play, some blues and stuff like that and rock, but it's what is the output of what you're creating, and it's not a very creative music.
He's always kind of, I think, his independent streak in his mind is he had really, really long hair, right? But he loved guns. That's been his thing all along. Even when he was
Terry Kath too. I would imagine if Terry Kath had lived, he would have probably supported Trump.
But that's interesting. Terry Kath actually had a gun because he killed himself with it. But he was
a hunter. He was upper Michigan. I'm not talking about the southern Michigan. And most people up there are very concerned. But I could be wrong. But he was a hunter.
Kid Rock, there's some irony that you can't cancel America, but you can cancel Bud Light. He's not allowing any play. He will not play any place that serves Bud Light. Because they have that problem with him, and so it's just hypocrisy all over the place. But Ted and the Kid coming to Backwoods Bar near you, and that's exactly it.
Well, they have Lee Greenwood, and I can't listen to that type of output for more than about 3 seconds before it goes off.
And actually, you have Jason Aldean, who is also going out with Kid Rock as part of that when he's not.
I don't even know who Jason Aldean is. I don't think
he's a big country star. But
I'm not really familiar with the country world except for
But what's interesting is even in the country world, okay, the big stars, a lot of them either stay out of politics, or if they're there, you got Willie Nelson. There's nobody more left than Willie.
Right.
Okay.
Or
So
correct.
you've got that senior thing. And then you have the Dixie Chicks. You have a lot of the women who, who are outspoken. Is there a cloud coming? Is there a cloud coming?
It's just complete black in my window right now. So I'm
Like I said, listen,
getting ready.
Brian, can I make a
But I
suggestion?
don't hear too many noises. So
Can I make a
Gary's the
suggestion?
weatherman. Gary, keep looking at that radar there, okay?
No, but here's
If I
the
look
thing,
at the
Brian.
radar here, we're going to be awful.
I don't want anything bad to happen. Do you have a belt somewhere around there? Could you wrap a belt around your chair so that as you fly,
Okay.
you won't come out of it?
Okay.
Um,
We're going into this theme of the tornado and the house going up.
Well, and that's we started with that. See, it's what is it? Synchronicity. We use that word. Kid Rock made a song justifying statutory rape too. Yeah. Well, Kid Rock and Ted Nugent. Kid
I guess
Rock.
he's speaking from experience, maybe.
Well, the thing is, of course, both of them adopted a macho posture in their field. Where David Bowie was androgynous and Mick Jagger was androgynous. But Kid Rock, he was good when he had the little guy with him. And once he went south. And then you've got so if the Republicans think they've got some lock on the youth vote with those two, no.
Roseanne Barr, she doesn't have any type of influence, does she?
Yeah,
She's
yes. Well, yeah, she does in the sense that there are Roseanne Barr fans out there that would support her. Is pro Biden, right, Anthony? But she has to come out, and it's.
She wants to probably be careful now because it could be violence, and that's the problem.
And let's say that if indeed Stormy Daniels' people were telling the truth, Stormy hasn't said anything, that she did wear bulletproof vests, and it would. I mean, I've never.
Yeah, but we all can't wear Kevlar. That's the problem, and it's and even then, if they shoot you in the face, it doesn't matter. I mean you're done.
I have to look back here. Like I said, my protests in 68, 69 to 73 when I got married. I don't think, even after Kent State and Jackson State, and we always forget Jackson State.
I do. Tell me, I can't remember Jackson State.
No, it's Kent State. Well, because Kent State got all the acclaim. And
right.
It was.
I still remember the date, May 4th, 1970. Boom.
Yeah. Well, because that was that thing.
Yeah. Jim Rhodes, governor. It just comes right to my head.
Well, right. And you were out there, right? I mean, got me ready to go out.
Well, I went to Kent State's sister school, which was Bowling Green.
Yeah.
So every May 4th, I would stand. I was in the school newspaper the day that we had one of these little, memoriams for.
Yeah. And
memorials. But
I said, so even though there was violence there, and of course you had the violence both by the Panthers, but more against the Panthers. Yeah, but I think Kanye's one of the things, and again, oh God, correct me if I'm wrong. One of the things I think even more so than the rapper of the moment is just that, the rapper of the moment. I mean, it changed so quickly, and there's so many of them, and they all have different followings. So I don't know how much. At one point, Kanye would have some influence over things. Whether he does now or not, I don't know. But I want to take a little different tactic, Brian, if we can, for a moment.
Sure.
And been watching 24. I never watched it. My son and my daughter-in-law said, back years ago it was on. You got to watch it. It's the best thing on television. And I just never got around to it. But we were looking for something to binge, and so we picked that. And it's interesting, to say the least. It's a TV show, so you question why didn't they do this, but if you don't pick it apart. But there was we're in the 8th and final season, and there was an interesting dilemma. So I want to talk. I haven't really talked about what I would do. I thought about it a lot, or what you would do. Basically, to set the stage, it's this. Okay, a group from a fictional Arab country is able to get nuclear rods into New York City. Now, there's a president of a fictional Arab country who is working with the president of the United States, who is President Taylor. She is a woman, at that point. And 24 was kind of had the time. They had a black president and a woman president in their 8 seasons. But anyway, what happens is he is going to sign this peace proposal, which is going to be historic, right? I mean, it's really big. And all these other countries have come there to join in. And the bad guys who have the nuclear weapons get a hold of the president, and they say, basically, we are going to unleash this bomb in New York City, in Manhattan, unless you turn over the president of this country to us. And it goes on. There's a coup. But I wonder about, what would you do, Brian, faced with that? Here are your two choices. You could turn over this president, right, who you've offered, and you really want him to survive because you want the peace treaty, right? Or, but that could be at the cost of upwards to 30 or 40,000 American deaths. What would you do?
Well, I am not one to give it on this. I go back to it, and this is one thing I remember when Casper Wyman, a guy on whom I hated, he mentioned when the Iranians took the American embassy, they had also jumped the Soviet embassy. And what Casper Weimer, and he's privy to more information that you and I would be. He said that they looked at them and they said, "You have 45 minutes to get out of here, or we're going to nuke your country." And then they said the next day they found the guy who came to the Russian embassy, the Soviet embassy, dead with his testicles shoved in his mouth. I don't think you play with these people whatsoever because they have the leverage on you. There is a time when your life is not as important as what the future is in the country. And that's what John Reed said. He said, there are times where it's worth the fight, and there's times when it's not. Okay, there's a time to die and there's time not to die. And I think in those cases, because of these threats of what you're going to do, that's letting them dictate what happens to you. We are in the sense of power.
May I stop you there just for a moment? Say that again about use a sentence with dictate.
They are dictating the terms. And when you allow somebody, just because somebody is in the minority doesn't mean they're right. And in this case, you cannot let them dictate the terms.
I'm smiling because that was the exact phrasing almost that the President Taylor used when she made the decision.
Oh, really? See, I've never seen 24. I can barely count to 24.
And there's another
without getting
thing.
Bored.
That was I understood that. But then there was another thing when Jack Bauer, who's the hero, Kiefer Sutherland, who, let's give a little shout out to his father, Donald Sutherland, who died this week. Tremendous actor,
Yes,
a generational
great
actor.
Canadian actor.
Yeah, it really was. And Kiefer's
a lot of great Canadian actors. I mean, it's just
I think
it's a small country in terms of population, but they certainly generate a lot of interest in Hollywood.
They probably.
I don't understand it too. It's weird.
Well, you know what? It may be. I mean, it may be with the smaller thing. They have more alone time. I don't know. Maybe they talk to the polar bears. I don't know. But you're right. I mean,
or maybe this is just great interest in what's going on below the board, and they want to prove themselves, and they do it well.
You're right. But anyway, back to so the Donald Sutherland's son, Kiefer Sutherland, is this Jack Bauer character, and he's kind of the rogue CIA agent. What's it called, CTU there? But anyway. He said a line that I thought was very interesting. He said, "You must back the president." But what I didn't know was, did he say that meaning you must back the president because what she's doing is right, or you must back the president because she is the president? And it makes a big difference in terms of how you approach it. But I was thinking about that as another way just to weigh in on bringing it back to the two men. If that were to happen, and I were asked, who would you rather have sitting in the Oval Office? Once again, every day, Joe Biden.
Right. I
Even
think he would be tough when he have to be tough. I hope he would be tough. If
no, he
he's
would be.
not, then you get
No,
somebody who is, but not
he would.
Trump.
No, well, Trump.
Because I think Trump would back down. I mean, he
Well,
tries to be friendly with like North Korea. I mean, what is
but
that shit?
I'm wondering. Well, I think it's different with North Korea than it is with Russia. I think with Russia there is a good possibility that he's been compromised at some point.
Right, right.
Now, what I would wonder though, it wouldn't matter now. It would not matter. Okay, I mean, look at the Ukraine-Russian situation. Republican numbers are way up backing Russia. They're clearly the aggressor. They're clearly our enemy. Now, I'm not saying Ukraine is perfect,
Right, and it
right?
makes you wonder for a large group of people like the supporters of Trump, what is it they don't understand about the situation? Are they just simply taking this guy's commentary and saying, "Okay, he's right. I'm just going to follow him on this issue," or is
Well,
there something that they like about what they see over there? Is there
yes,
something in it?
I think what they like, and this is, I wish we could get some people on from their side, uh, and I think what they like is the fact that he's a strong man, and they think Donald Trump is Putin-esque. He's not. If anything, he's the opposite of Putin. I mean, I don't know Vladimir Putin, but I mean, I think he doesn't really fuck around much. I mean,
Not in his
he
own
knows.
country. I mean, it's
Well,
quite
no.
clear what
I
he
mean,
does to journalists and
he knows.
anybody who gets in his way.
I'm not endorsing it. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying anything. However, what I am saying is he knows power. He is powerful. He knows how to appear powerful. He's surrounded himself with powerful people. I think the most amazing thing is in a country like Russia, and you know more, but you're a Russian expert. But I mean, I think there's more chance. Let me rephrase. There's more chance of like a coup from the military there wanting the power, and he's avoided all that. I mean, he's
He
president
has.
for life. President for life. I mean, I can't see anything that would. I don't.
He's been there longer than Brezhnev. That's how long he's
I,
been.
I know, and he, and
But he
if it's
also has control of all the
everything,
important elements of control.
and ladies and gentlemen, if you look at this 2025 plan put together by Heritage under their auspices, Trump will almost be granted that type of control. It's really, really bad, Brian. I'll just give you one example. And see, a lot of it is technical, and it's not really sexy. It's not like having, a, a porn star in your bed or whatever. But there's this thing called, which I knew nothing about, I'm still trying to learn about, called Section F. And basically what that does, it takes all the bureaucrats in civil service and puts them into two categories, right? One category is political appointments, and then the other category is protected by civil service. And if the number, I think I read the numbers about that affects about 40,000 people in government. Okay. And what they want to do is remove Section F, and everybody would be a political appointment. That means that means at NASA, that means at OSHA, that means at everything. It would just be, if you disagreed, you're gone. And if they can do that, welcome 1984. It would be, there'd be no checks, there'd be no balances. And Brian,
Nothing.
you've been very articulate. We don't really have a whole lot right now. Okay, you forget the Senate, forget Congress. They're too close to, that doesn't happen. So the real power is the executive branch and the judicial branch. And I think it's safe to say, if you agree, Brian, that when we put together our midweek show coming up, we'll start working on it next week. I think we should just look at the Supreme Court. You kind of said, people,
Right.
what Brian and I talked about is keeping this kind of Trump in the election and this alive. And the other is to look at the tangential things that are going on that are just as important. But we don't have time for a 17-hour show.
And I don't
So
know how you get around the Supreme Court. You can't just hope for Alito to have a heart attack. I don't know how you
no,
get around
well,
this.
every once in a while, they do something that surprises me. This week they did.
Yeah, but it's not as important as some of them.
I know, Brian. But I'm just saying it is a victory of sorts, and it's surprising coming from a conservative court that you would think would be, just guns no matter what, as they are, But again, well, I'm not making them heroes. I'm just saying it was surprising. I was surprised about that ruling. Now, the other one that will really be something, and I'll be spending time up there, and I hope they don't do anything until I get there, is that they have to issue the immunity this week. It's the end of the term. And that's another thing that when this police, I was talking about the police getting together and trying to figure out what to do. They're also extremely concerned about that.
Well, if they're going to give immunity, they still understand they could be giving immunity to Biden, and now I'm not saying Biden's going to go unhinged.
No. Well,
but
and I think I agree with the pundits. I hate that word pundit because it kind of puts them down. I agree with the political commentators who say they've already done for Trump what he needed done. They've postponed it, so there's no chance of any kind of hearing happening before the election. And you've got
and then Eileen Cannon. I mean,
Eileen Cannon.
I don't know what you do with her. I mean, I don't know how you get her out.
You don't. And I don't know if you saw this week, it came out two very influential. I mean, that's what they said. I don't know much about the Florida judiciary, but two very senior judges both went to her and said, "Get the hell out! Don't do this."
Right, and she did.
You're not prepared. I mean, and I think they were kind of concerned. I mean, you don't put a rookie there. She's a rookie, and it doesn't matter. She doesn't have that experience. It'd be like, I don't know, elevating a 14-year-old guitar player to the Rolling Stones with no rehearsal and say, go out and be Keith Richard. It wouldn't happen. Well, Brian, we made it through the show.
We did, and
you did not fly away.
A drought. I guess that the clouds have dissolved in the heat. It's so hot that there are not even clouds. It's just breath, hot breath.
Well, it's hot. It's hot, and so
it must be really hot there too. You're not that far from me, and you're actually due south.
No. It usually, Brian, except when it gets this hot, there's usually a 2-4 degree hotter here.
Right.
We were. It depends on where we were.
Plus, you're in the city, kind of.
It's very much. It was 97 today, but it was. And
now you're not a big fan of air conditioning, but I'll bet you had it on today.
Well, interesting enough, I can bitch. No, we, my wife and I, so hot, she couldn't figure out where we wanted to go for lunch, and so we went to this place to try it again. Not some place that I won't name it because it's disparaging. And when you don't like something, it doesn't matter. But anyway, we went to this place and we walked in. They didn't have air conditioning and they didn't have ice.
God.
Both. And I was just cantankerous enough.
You didn't eat there, I hope.
Yeah, well, I was just cantankerous enough to make Judy miserable because I said, see. But no. But my point is, when you came out, I actually liked it outside as hot as it was better in there because you had that stuffy feeling. You know what I mean?
Right.
It was just
right.
And I will share with anyone. It's one thing to say, "Oh, the Coke's warm, I'll drink it." It's another when they don't have ice, and this was. Well, people, thank you for being. I see by our numbers, we did fairly well compared to what we do. I think of the 27,000 people that are watching, I think 26,999
give or take 27,000
are here for me. But you try to hold your own. Oh, by the other way, I just want to ask one last question. I meant to ask at the beginning of the show. I'm sorry. That song that plays when you do the woodland thing. Is that Lauren Boebert's band? Lauren Boebert and the Hand Jobs?
No, don't take a shot at Holsworth and Gary Husband and all those guys. No.
Well, look, I mean Holsworth. She held something, and Alan Holsworth.
She couldn't hold Holsworth. No, I don't want to get into it, but no.
All right.
All right. But thank you, Dave.
Well, thank you, and hope that people got something out of it. And again, we're not begging, but we're asking. So there were some good questions tonight. If you haven't, send them to us. I mean, Brian doesn't read real well. He is dyslexic, but his wife Ronnie reads excellently, and she reads things.
By the way, I was reading something on dyslexia, Dave, just yesterday, where they tried to give examples of what dyslexic people would actually, see, and they gave nine or 10 examples. And the last example, everything was absolutely perfect. But they said it's just how they interpret it. It's wrong, and that's kind of strange. Where you actually can see it in its normal way. There's no kind of blurring. There's no jumping around of letters. it looks exactly as it is, but for some reason you can't. Because I've always wondered if I were dyslexic anyway. Because I keep thinking, well, if I could just get my mind together when I read, I'd read
No, no,
faster. And
you have idiocy in your
okay,
genes. You have attention
I have
deficit.
a little bit of
You
Neanderthal in me. I admit
you
that.
no, you have hyperactivity, but I don't think you're dyslexic.
No, I guess I'm not. It's kind of like a wish. Like I say, oh, that was the reason I wasn't
Well,
reading at the level I'd like to.
well,
Or I'd like to
yeah,
be treated for it, and all of a sudden I can do Einsteinian type of acts.
no. Well, you read in Russian, right? You're fluent in reading.
Yes, it's funny. I can read Russian in a more relaxed way than I can read in English. After English, I get very tired very quickly. Like I'll lie in bed and I'll
Well,
read 4 or 5 pages, and I say, "Wow, I'm getting tired here. The book's going
my,
down."
I'm laughing. Judy got she's actually reading two books to my one now, but she got a biography. She likes biographies of Lauren Bacall and Humphrey Bogart, and
Who,
she
by the way,
is.
her real last name is Weinstein. Lauren Bacall. It was Lauren
I
Weinstein.
I saw that Judy pointed that out to me, and I threw up. But that's okay.
Okay.
All right, let's get the hell out of here.
Yeah, let's get out of
Bye,
here.
people.
I'll put in the last two comments real quick. Yes, put that on your lawn. Just make sure you have some Kevlar on down in Texas there, Anthony. The middle of the median, yeah, okay, do that. Okay, but just again, wear the Kevlar. And then touch of this might stimulate creativity.
And that's what we were talking about that earlier, Keith. I don't know if you were here. That's what they talk about when we're talking about the CEOs. It forces them to really study people because they can't study words. So
Right.
I think that is a lot of times when you can't see the world as a whole,
Hmm.
you compensate by seeing part. It's like a friend. We're gonna go forever on this, but he's blind, but he is compensated with his sense of sound. And I mean, it's like he hears music in such a way and can describe it. It is much better than anything.
All right. Well, that's the one thing I wouldn't want to lose is my sight. I mean, if I had to choose between losing my sight and my hearing, I would probably choose to lose my hearing.
I think that's always been. We used to do that
You know, I'm a very
exercise.
visual type of learner, and I don't think I'd want. I don't want to lose. Nobody wants to lose anything. Let's just face
Well,
it.
no,
But
but
given
and again,
a choice,
I would make the same choice. I
yeah,
think I would give up sense of maybe smell first, but then
right.
they say that affects everything else. So but if I got close to Donald Trump and he was shitting his pants, I probably would be grateful not to be able to see it. All right,
T-Bone's some
everybody,
dyslexic there. But before this is T-Bone. Can you read that? You're not dyslexic, are you, Dave? It's pretty easy to read. Okay. All
the
right.
storm's
Thank you,
breaking.
everybody. Thank you, Veg, Keith, Bella, Jeff, Joey, Gary, just everybody. I mean, if I miss your name, I'm sorry, T-Bone.
Oh, I'm gone.
All right, you're gone. All right. Okay. Wow. And we were just getting popular. That's what we're gonna do. We should just put this thing on for 58 minutes, and the last 2 minutes we get everybody watching, I suppose. Anti-Gaia, Veg, everybody. I guess I haven't missed anybody. Anthony, of course. Don't want to forget Anthony. I don't want to forget anybody. That's why I'm just scrolling through the names here. But thank you. And those of you who are incognito, we always appreciate it. So good night, everybody. And we'll see you next week. And we plan on having a second show this week, but it'll be recorded. So I don't know which day. Maybe Monday. I don't want it to run into the hockey game. So, yeah, that's going to be, for a summer game, that's going to be the biggest hockey game televised ever. Florida and Edmonton. So it'll be exciting. I'm going to predict. I won't predict who wins, but I predict that game is going to go into overtime, and we're going to have an overtime winner. I don't know who it's going to be. I really don't, but I predict overtime. So you heard it here. All right, exciting. See ya.